Hello, this is Greg at Reserve My Court, and in this video today we're going to talk about the last rule that we have, the last rule type, which is a walk-up rule. So this is the last in a long series on each of the different types of rules that we have available. And so I am under club settings and I'm under amenity rules and fees. And in this case, I've already have a rule set up called operating hours, which sets our open and close time for our courts from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. So I just have that in place because I want to show you how that interacts with this last rule, which is our walk-up rule. So I'm going to click on Add Rule, and I'm going to go down to the very bottom, scroll to the very bottom here, and put Walk-up. And you can give this rule whatever name you want, and that name is going to show on the schedule. So in some ways, this is similar to a close rule we talked about in another video where you're blocking off specific times or locking out certain times of the day where people can't make reservations. And that's true in this case too, and the name is going to show up. But it does act a little bit differently, and I'll show you why in just a second. So for now, let's just call this walk-up, because this is, you may be actually using it as a walk-up court rule, and that's was its original intent. It's kind of a little more flexible than that. So we're going to call it walk-up. And as I mentioned before, our courts are opening at 8 a.m., so I'm going to say from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and you could set this however you want. It doesn't have to be for your full day. It could be for the part of the day if you wanted to. And you could add separate little blocks if you wanted to, if it was different times of the day. But for now, I'm just going to put it in very simply from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I'm going to say this rule starts immediately. It never ends. Again, we've talked about this in the other videos. If you have something that's a seasonal rule, you might it's different in the summer and the winter, then you might set up one rule that starts, say, July 1st and ends September 1st, and then a different set of rules that starts, September 1st and goes all the way through the next June. So you can set these rules up however you want to start and end wherever you want. I'm going to set this one up to start immediately and never end, which will be the case for most of you most of the time. And you could also apply this to any specific days of the week or days of the month. I'm going to apply it to all the days of the week. And again, you obviously on this one, a lot of cases you're probably setting this up on a single court. So I'll do that. Let's say court 1 is a walk-up court. And you could apply this to whichever roles you want, whichever user roles you want. You might choose to not apply this to your own super admin account, and that would give you some flexibility to make reservations on that court. And those would still show up for your other users. So I'm going to show you in a minute how it's going to be grayed out, and it's going to say walk up. But if you did not apply this rule to your account, and it would look open to you, you could go in and actually make reservations. And then for your other users, it would be grayed out. But then that reservation would still show up there. So it would be clear to them, hey, it's a walk-up court, but I can't go at this time because there's a reservation. Maybe it's something for the community or for the HOA needs it for whatever reason. So you have that opportunity. For now, I'm going to apply it to all the accounts, all the user roles, just so you can see what it looks like when we get on the schedule here. So even on the super admin, I'm going to apply that. So let's go to the schedule once that rule goes in, and we'll take a look at how that renders and what it looks like. So if I go to the club schedule, and again, I only applied it on court 1, and you can see how it's laid in there now. It's grayed out at the very top of the day. It says walk up, which is the name I gave it. But if I try to actually reserve that time, so if I go, let's say over here to tomorrow, and I try to reserve in here, I'm going to get an error here as I try to submit this. It says it's a walk-up court during a portion of your reservation, so it cannot be reserved. So that's how that's going to work. Now I want to show you how this can be used a little differently, maybe a little more flexible. And so if I go back to my club settings, and I'm going to edit this rule, and we'll make it a little bit different. So let's say really what I was trying to do with this, I wanted to block off a certain time every day. So it's still going to be a walk-up rule, but let's say this is morning drills or something like that. And I'm going from 8 a.m. and I'm going to go to let's go to 10 a.m. and we'll still start it immediately near end. We're not going to do it. We'll just do it Monday through Friday. And now we're going to do it, maybe we're doing it on all the courts, whatever. So all the courts are blocked off for that time. And again, for all roles. So I'm going to submit that. And I want to show you this specifically on all courts, because if I go now to the schedule, you're going to see that render there on all courts, morning drills. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now, if you had done this exact same thing with a close rule instead of a walk-up rule, the system would have said, okay, well, we're closed. All courts are closed all the way up to 10 a.m., and it just wouldn't even render. You wouldn't even see any of this. It would just, the schedule would start at 10 a.m. So whenever you're doing any kind of blocking off if you're using these rules to create, like I'll call them standing reservations rather than just repeating reservations, if you're using the rules in that way, you probably be better off to use the walk-up rule than the close rule. So that's really how that works. If you have any questions about the walk-up rule or how you would use it outside maybe of its normal function, and or if you have questions about other rule types or other reserve my court functions, just give us a call. My number is 678-880-9042. You can also get me by email. That's greg@reservemycourt.com. Thanks so much.